a great colleague. We're very lucky to have him. He's an excellent teacher.
He's a very open professor. He's a very enthusiastic professor. You can really like see the passion in what he talks about.
Kind of took me under his wing a little bit when I first got to Francis Marion, helped me kind of navigate. So lucky again to call him not just a colleague, but a friend as well.
I'd rank him in my top professors that I've ever had here.
These are just a few words that students and colleagues have to say about Dr. Louis Venners, history professor here at Francis Marion University. He has been teaching here for 16 years and got his PhD at the University of South Carolina in 2010. Let's listen to what he has to say about his students.
I want my students to take over the world. I want my students to save the world. I want my students to know themselves well enough to know the social and political and ecological and economic conditions and trends well enough to be able to make their mark.
I feel like he makes me feel very valued and that each of my ideas are very important, that he has a personal investment in each of his students' growth.
Dr. Venners specializes in teaching public history, which is more hands-on learning, mainly involving the issues about race rather than reading out of a textbook.
The field of public history, by definition, takes place outside the classroom, and so that course gives us enough flexibility to be able to go to historic sites nearby, take an example of what we're reading about, and then go see it in person.
Shelley Hedrick is a junior at Francis Marion University with a minor in history and makes sure to keep Dr. Venners in her class schedule each year for multiple history courses.
They're all classes that I had some kind of prerequisite of understanding for. Like I've lived in South Carolina my whole life. I've had some kind of understanding of South Carolina history, but I always find I walk away with a much deeper understanding than I even knew was possible before.
He's a very popular instructor. Most of his classes fill up. They fill up right away. Dr. Venners has a more of a hands-on approach than I do. He takes a lot of field trips. They go out and do some work in the community.
Outside the classroom, Dr. Venners is a normal man partaking in gardening, lifting weights, running, and any physical activity that pushes himself to the limit. He even practices a martial art called
Capoeira. Is the Afro-Brazilian martial art that was brought to Brazil from Central Africa by enslaved people in the 18th, 19th century, and it's grown around the world now. If there are capoeira instructors that want to relocate to Florence, South Carolina, hey, we can make something happen. I know people.
Dr. Venners has touched the hearts of not only his students and colleagues, but several communities outside of campus. You can visit his website at www.louisvenners.com to learn more and connect with him outside the classroom. Jade Maynor reporting for Patriot News.